This is a ceiling-level operation in the tire repair industry in Pakistan. If we have to describe the extent of damage to this tire, the only word that comes to mind is scrap. However, even though the tire is in this condition, the user of this tire still doesn't want to give it up. The reason, of course, is not sentimental attachment to this practically scrap giant, it's simply because buying a new tire costs nearly $60. So, they had no choice but to find this very famous repair shop to revive this tire forcefully. Hi there. Welcome back to Tony Industry Channel. Next, let's take a complete look at the entire process of repairing this ceiling-level tire. After all, once this tire repair is complete, it will be as good as new, which most people probably can't even imagine. And the cost of the repair is only $9. Upon hearing this fee, one can't help but marvel at how cost-effective it is. However, the real question is whether this repaired tire can last. Alright, let's get straight to the point. The first step is to repair all the damaged areas of the tire according to the planned method and then proceed with polishing. Although this step may seem simple, it requires precise polishing to have the right effect on the subsequent repair process. After all, in whatever task we undertake, the foundation is the most important. Now that all the damaged areas have been polished, the next crucial step in the repair process is to sew them together using a very strong thread. However, this type of thread has always been a mystery to the world. What material is it made of? If it's a high-strength nylon thread, it's probably the most likely. However, my impression of this thread, which has come into contact with mud and has been used, is quite different from the nylon thread we usually use. It feels very hard. Which raises the question of what material it's made of. The closest thing that comes to mind is the broken transmission belt. The threads that come out of it can be said to be the same. I don't know if any of your friends know the specific material used to make this type of thread. It would be nice to share and familiarize everyone with the composition of this thread. Sewing it together is still not an easy task, and it needs to be sewn very tightly to ensure that the damaged area can withstand the strength of the tension. But at this point, someone will say, oh, this method of repair with sewn threads is just a deception. It can't withstand heavy loads. As long as there's a little extra strain, it might collapse. Well, if it solely relies on these sewn threads for support, that would be a joke. Repairing it involves more than just this one step. So, let's not rush and take a look at the complete repair process. After the initial stitching is completed, the next step is to apply adhesive to the damaged areas. However, this adhesive is not ordinary. Some fans have previously mentioned that it is a liquid obtained by mixing rubber with gasoline. However, I can't confirm whether this statement is correct or not. After all, even in our country's car repair shops or professional tire repair stores, I'm sure they wouldn't be able to repair a tire to such an extent. Let's assume it's a liquid mixture of gasoline and rubber for now. If it's incorrect, please correct me, especially if you have watched the video or have experience with such advanced repair methods. The next step is to find a suitable sized battery, a rubber similar to the tire's material, with a rope attached, and after cutting it, adhere it to the surface. After it dries, it should be attached to the damaged area inside the tire for further reinforcement. Speaking of batteries, only true tire repair experts would think of them at this point. After all, in our country, in the 80s and 90s, similar repair methods, like the Bhatai brothers, were seen, just not used for such extensively damaged tires. The battery is like an electric tire. And after bonding the internal part with the battery, it needs to be sewn together with the battery itself, the tire, and even the performance. Does this increase the strength? The stressed area of the tire is not just the damaged part, it is quite large. As long as the rubber gasoline mixture has sufficient adhesive strength, there should be no concerns about the strength of this part. You know what, the stitching technique of the Bhatai brothers is really impressive. Not only does it look strong and secure, but the spacing is also very even. We have to admire the tire repair skills of the Bataille brothers. They are truly remarkable. Now, let's continue and see how the backside of this area is treated. After the stitching with the thread mentioned earlier, the liquid made of rubber and gasoline fusion is applied. Of course, we can't be certain about the composition of this liquid, so it is applied, followed by attaching a layer of rubber to the stitched thread. It seems that repairing such a tire, with such severe damage, cannot be done without raw rubber. We all know that rubber, after high-temperature vulcanization, significantly increases its strength and resilience. It can be said that vulcanized rubber, although it is still rubber, undergoes a qualitative change, with completely different indicators in terms of strength, resilience, wear resistance, high-temperature resistance, and corrosion resistance. However, there is one crucial point, which is that the temperature control during the vulcanization process may vary slightly depending on the type of rubber used, but generally, it is around 135 degrees Celsius. This information is based on general data about rubber, so please forgive any inaccuracies if used in the wrong context. Okay, the repair has reached this point. Now, we need to attach a larger battery inside the tire. We will still use the same liquid adhesive as before to bond it. This should significantly improve the overall strength. The next step is to create a mold of the intact section of the tire using plaster bandages. What is it for? It's for preparing the subsequent repair steps, which involve high-temperature molding and vulcanization modification. Of course, we don't want the appearance to be too unsightly. As I mentioned before, once the repair is complete, you can hardly tell from the outside that the tire was severely damaged. Let's continue and see how we can easily recreate the complete tire tread pattern using this method. Now that we have the mold, the next step is to proceed with high-temperature vulcanization. First, the mold needs to be placed on a small gas-heated platform. Then, the repaired section of the tire is positioned on the mold according to the tread pattern and heated. Before heating, a layer of rubber is applied to the surface. The tire repair process is quite complex. If we consider the fee of $9, I wonder what our fans think about this cost. I believe it's a very affordable price to repair a tire with such extensive damage. Hey! Welcome back to Tony Industry Channel. After 2 hours of high-temperature vulcanization treatment, I believe the rubber used in the repair process has properly vulcanized. However, this vulcanization method has its limitations. It only vulcanizes the specific area of the tire tread. The tire bead area seems to lack sufficient vulcanization during this process. Therefore, additional vulcanization is required for the tire bead area, using a specific operation technique. From that detail, you should be able to see clearly that the rubber on the tire tread has been completely vulcanized and shaped. However, the sidewall remains in its original state before the repair. Therefore, we will skip the step of reapplying the liquid rubber for vulcanization on the sidewall. Let's move on and skip the vulcanization process to see the finished product. Both the tread and sidewall of the tire have completed the vulcanization process. Looking at the tire after vulcanization, you may only notice slight surface irregularities. After some simple adjustments, how does this tire look? If you don't look closely, you probably won't notice that it was a severely damaged tire. The next step is to use a grinding wheel and other small tools to further polish the repaired areas of the tire. This tire, which seemed irreparably shattered at the beginning of the video, has truly been resurrected under the skilled hands of the repair master. If a tire with such extensive damage were in our country, it would be considered scrap and not even suitable for recycling. The price of recycled tires is extremely low nowadays because they cannot be used for diesel fuel production. Therefore, these waste tires have little value and are sold at very low prices. Finally, A heated soldering iron is used to lightly iron the previously vulcanized area. Although this ironing process is not entirely appropriate or precise. Alright, that's all we have to share in this episode. This tire repair is truly impressive. See you in the next episode.